show, but let's stay on this ISIS threat. What is the present danger to Americans at this particular base, and how might these American troops react if the militants continue to encroach upon this base? Joining me now, Lieutenant Colonel Scott Mann, retired U.S. Army Special Forces and military advisor for the Concerned Veterans for America. Colonel, welcome.
Hey, Brooke, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on. You know, we have these 320 individuals who are stationed there as quote-unquote advisors, but I just have to ask you, I mean, they would be combat ready, correct? If ISIS were to get up to those gates and beyond, surely they would be poised to fight back.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these guys are advisors, but, you know, advising is one of the most dangerous jobs in the military because of the fact that you are up close and personal to the action, but you're having to work by, with, and through, you know, indigenous forces in some rough places. But I think what concerns me more than anything is not that they're not ready, but it's the fact that we're just investing our efforts in the Iraqi military only, and we're not engaging at a community level. And especially in a Sunni-dominated area, that's how ISIS is able to exploit things and get in close to the base. The fact that we're not engaging at a community level really isolates us.
How do you mean? How should we be engaging community-wise?
Well, one of the things that we've learned is that, you know, just working with the military as an advisor in a place like Iraq, where you have a sincere distrust of the military by the Sunni population because it is a Shia-dominated military. The fact of the matter is that ISIS exploits that trust deficit within the Sunni populations. And if we don't put our advisors out at a community level, at least working with the Sunnis in those areas as well that are trying to resist, it makes it really easy for ISIS to encircle these bases. We self-isolate when we only work with the military.
You know, I was hearing that from a general who's not coming on the show, but he was just sort of saying that the acts of ISIS really, with regard to these communities, and the children and the elderly who they are killing with these suicide bombs is just cowardly. So how capable really are these ISIS militants here?
Well, I mean, they're very capable, but they're also, you know, they're very diabolical, and there are a lot of folks at the community level who want to push back against them, who do want to resist. In fact, in a lot of these tribal areas, look, this is the place where ISIS likes to work. They like to go into damaged communities where clan and tribal honor are at play, and they can kind of co-opt the systems, whether that's Afghanistan, whether that's Yemen or Iraq. They like to go to the tribal areas. But frankly, tribes are pretty autonomous, and they will push back and they will stand up. But we're going to have to work with them in those areas, and that's something we're not doing right now. Even President Obama's request for authorization for force, if you look at it, it's just to work with the military. And again, there's a huge trust deficit between the Sunnis and the military, and until we close that trust deficit, we're putting our guys at risk by isolating them on these bases.
Colonel Mann, let me ask you, too, about something it's frightening, because we're hearing about the rise of ISIS in neighboring countries, right? So now we're no longer talking about Iraq and Syria. As I mentioned before, members of the Taliban are apparently defecting and rebranding themselves and swearing allegiance to the black ISIS flag. You see the different countries on the map here where ISIS is appearing. Do you expect we will see more of this?
I do, and I'll tell you why. Because these guys understand the importance of narrative and story. They understand that narrative, if properly spun, you know, that Islam is under attack by the West, for example, and that it's the duty of every Muslim to defend it. They can push that narrative all over the world, and it resonates. And one of the things that we're going to have to get our head around is we've got to decide that we're going to try to win, that we're going to try to defeat ISIS and stop just kind of dabbling in it. And we're going to have to start working in the realm of narrative and story.
You think airstrikes are dabbling? I just have to push you a little bit on that.
I'm sorry?
You think airstrikes are dabbling?
Yeah, I do, because I think all that airstrikes really do, if that's your singular strategy in an honor-based clan society, is you invoke tribal revenge back against you. You know, we're going to have to push a narrative and story out there that competes with what narrative ISIS is pushing out there, which is basically Islam is under attack. And doing airstrikes in retaliation for that into tribal society, when we have no local presence, that just plays into their narrative every single time.
Lieutenant Colonel Scott Mann, appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.